This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is Friday, April 25th, and it's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is C.A. Newry, and I shall be your host for today. In the beautiful islands of the Exuma, there is a huge debate raging. Some people might say it's a row. Some people might say it's a cry of alarm. Some people might say it's something urgent. A number of Bahamians are not aware of this controversy. Controversy may be a strong word, but this concern that is happening in the Exumas. A place called Samson Key has two operators operating. They have two different type of business. And one of the operator there said they've been there, they're working with the environment, and along comes a second entity that is doing something completely contrary. So contrary that they are concerned. In fact, a number of Exumians are concerned and they're banding together. We have a guest who's joined us by Zoom, an environmentalist, right? He's an environmental consultant. In fact, he's a CEO of One Consultants, where he speaks about credibility, actually. That's his avocation. That's what he does. We have one Eric Carey on Zoom. I hope you can hear me now. Eric, are you there?
Hey, Mr. Newry, I can hear you. Thank you for having me on your show.
And it's a pleasure. You raised an alarm the other day, and I said, no, I'm not familiar with it. Mm-hmm. How come people in Nassau is not aware of what is happening? And I say, you must come on. You must come on and explain exactly what is the concern. You are a proponent, if I could use that word, of a hotel, environmental, and I'll let you explain it to me. I don't want you to give the audience, my listening audience, a narrative of who you are representing or who you are involved with, first of all, so we can understand that, and then raise and explain your concern.
Yeah, good day. Thank you. Good morning, Bahamas. I'm in Tarpon Bay. The power off again, so BPL, you all need to get your act together, but you all say you have energy reform, so hopefully you can reach us soon. Thank God for cell phone and battery. My client, so Turtle Grass Resort is my client. Bob Coughlin, the principal of the Turtle Grass Resort at Samson Key. I know Bob from a former life at the Bahamas National Trust. Bob Coughlin is a community-minded individual. He's been in the Bahamas for a number of years, and from he hit the ground in Exuma, he hit the ground running, looking to see how he could help or support, better word, the community in which he had just significantly invested. He built a home in Exuma, and having retired from his company, wanted to make sure that he was contributing to Exuma just as he was contributing to his hometown in Cincinnati. And if you Google Bob Coughlin, you will see that his philanthropy didn't start when he came to the Bahamas. He is a proven, known philanthropist. He has been honored by the city of Cincinnati several times over because of his philanthropy. So Bob, I want to make that point clear. Secondly, Bob is a significant contributor to any number of initiatives in Exuma, and in fact, led the formation of Friends of Exuma, a group of philanthropists who support any number of community efforts, including the Elizabeth Harbor Conservation Partnership, which is trying to clean up Elizabeth Harbor, the Bahamas National Trust. Bob has given more than $1 million to the Bahamas National Trust alone to support, especially the Mariah Harbor Key National Park, which is the second national park in Exuma. It's just south of Georgetown Harbor. So that point is important because I don't want people to think Bob just trying to do good to support his project. The reverse is actually the case. So I knew Bob was doing this resort and had tracked what he was doing. And then once I heard about this, and controversy is indeed a strong, but it is the correct word. Bob has all of his approvals, NEC, BIA, DEP, physical planning, and he's, $25 billion into his investment, including probably, I don't know how much he's actually spent on construction, but he's been under construction for like 2 years.
But before you go on, exactly what Bob Coughlin what is he doing on Sampson Key? Describe this project that you say he gets a full approval for.
Bob has a natural affinity for the environment, and as such, it's natural, pun intended, that any project that he would have involved himself in would have had to fit in and respect the natural environment. So he conceptualized this small, eco-friendly luxury resort to fit into the landscape. There's no dredging at all. Let's get that very clear. No dredging of the seabed. The footprint is relatively small. The land clearing is minimal. The buildings are being fit into the landscape. Mr. Coughlin is building a resort. Turtle Grass Resort is built to fall in line with and respect the sense of space. It is not intended to change, decimate, or destroy to create a product from which he makes money. Quite the opposite. He is building a product that fits into the environment, that respects the local environment, the local culture, that does not bring pressure, undue and high density pressure on a community that is known for being laid back, low density, blue seas, clear waters. He met that there, and his resort will operate, and they will leave that there. So that's his philosophy. Sustainability in tune with nature and the environment and the community.
I have Aaron Green joining me, but before I have her engage you.
Morning. Good.
Don't round me today. Don't come on the show to round me.
No, but I got two questions.
But I want to ask him this first.
Yeah.
I want to know how Exumians have embraced this particular project, this Turtle Grass Resort.
Yeah. So first off, there are Bob. Turtle Grass is. Let me stop saying Bob. It's not Bob. It's Turtle Grass. Turtle Grass is employing 100% Bahamians. There are 30 people employed currently, all Bahamians, and at least 20 of them are from Black Point, Exuma alone, right? 20 people are from Black Point. And so he's having a direct economic relationship with the economy with those families. Those families have obviously embraced Turtle Grass Resort. There's also a group called the Save Exuma Alliance, who have expressed support for Turtle Grass Resort and have expressed some concerns about the level of density of the other proposed development. They have some concerns that the other developer, if the government were to approve what they're proposing right now, at the level of density and intensity that it is proposing, that it will destroy Turtle Grass's product and cause it to go under. Those local Exuma people, the Save Exuma Alliance, are interested in both resorts being able to be viable, and they don't want one at the expense of the other. So they embrace Turtle Grass Resort because Turtle Grass Resort is of the same ilk, it's of the same speed, it's of the same nature, it's the same size as the other small resorts throughout the Exumas. It fits right in. Turtle Grass is not changing the Exumas. Turtle Grass is joining the Exumas. And so the local people respect, they respect, they appreciate, and they understand that Turtle Grass is something that fits in with their way of life.
Absolutely. That leads me to my second question, which is what are some of the natural feature adaptations, right, that Turtle Grass has made in terms of adapting their project to the natural landscape? And then the first question, though, is like, what is the threshold of development for eco development? Like, how much development is too much to be considered eco development? And what are some of the basic differences between the projects so people could get a sense of the opposition?
Okay, so I don't know if there is a numerical threshold, but um, eco lodges, eco resorts, ecotourism fits in with the culture, the environment uh, that the activities taking place. It seeks to minimize the footprint, the carbon footprint, and it's engage in activities that enhance rather than take away from the environment. So, your guest activities your guests are going to engage themselves in activities that are, low impact, paddle boarding, snorkeling, kayaking, etc., diving, low impact fishing. But your resort is also going to be sustainably designed. First and foremost, the energy grid. The resort is fully off the grid, fully off of fossil fuels. It's totally solar. The first phase of solar has already been completed, and there's never going to be any generated electricity on this island. The the resort should fit within the landscape, and it should be small enough that you don't have to clear significant areas. 50% is a huge density, 70% is, but some resorts who are not resorts, not eco lodges, not eco resorts, they have to do that. That's their business model. The eco model is at the other end of the spectrum, as small and as minimal as possible. And that is what Turtle Grass is committed to, doing as little permanent damage to the environment. They're bringing in no non native vegetation. They are removing as little land vegetation as possible. They're having minimal impact on the seafloor, absolutely zero dredging. In fact, when they got their CEC from DEP, it was made very clear, and this is very important, that in the North Bay of Sampson Key, where their recreational beaches are, DEP put on their certificate of environmental clearance. I think it might have been in red. It certainly was in caps. No dredging, right? So they never intended to dredge, but DEP made it a point to stamp on their certificate of environmental clearance, no dredging. That is important because along comes another developer, the Integra Group. We learned about this long after, Mr. Coughlin learned about this
So
long
let
after.
me pause you there, Mr.
Yeah,
Carey, right? You mentioned the name Integra. I think it has affiliation with Rosewood, right? It's a
yeah,
luxury resort. Our government has been making efforts to have such businesses to be embraced in the Bahamas. But you have concerns. And I want to know, why do you have concerns with the Integra Group, or this new
yeah.
development that shares the same space that you are going to be, which your company, which you're lobbying for, is going to be using?
Yeah. So I saw a news item sometime in maybe May or June 2023. Heads of agreement signed for Samson Key project. So I called up my friend Bob. I said, "Hey, you're in the papers today. I thought you had your heads of agreement." He said, "That's not me. That's somebody else." I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And so that's when I learned that there was this other project. He learned just before that there was this other project that had applied to the government. And once we started digging into what they were proposing, they did a town meeting. BIA did an unprecedented town meeting in Exuma to present these guys to the public. And the principal, Philippe McLean, he gets up and he says, "This is what we're going to do. We're going to have, this is where we're going to put a marina. We're going to have overwater bungalows. We're going to do this." And we're like, "What are you talking about? You can't put a marina there. That's in front of Turtle Grass's beach, which is already an approved resort." "Okay, we'll just move it over to the other end." And that's what they did, moved it over to the other end. And then a few months later, we hear, "Oh, we're going to put two marinas in the south instead, but we're leaving a commercial dock in the north." Significant, because that is my client's largest point of contention. A commercial dock, which will dredge, we estimate 30, 35,000 cubic yards. The EIA says they're going to dredge five or 6,000, which is absolutely incorrect, because where they need to dredge is they need to start in 1 foot of water and go out 300 feet to get to deep enough water to bring in barges. And this is in a pristine, this is one of the most pristine, most beautiful, most picturesque tidal creeks, bays, cuts in the Exumas, right? And to hear that they propose to do that, what that means is they will destroy the North Bay, and very importantly, from my client's perspective, they will be bringing commercial barges 70 to 100 feet from his recreational beaches, right? And through a channel where there's beautiful seagrass, coral reefs, turtles galore, sharks, everything swimming through. And this is where people, not only his clients, but other guests from resorts like Embrace Resort in Staniel Key and Staniel Key Yacht Club, and the many boaters who visit, they use this area for recreation. These guys are proposing to come in and completely destroy that. So from my client's perspective, that is an existential threat, and we have been begging the deputy prime minister. We've met with Integra. We've told them, relocate your commercial dock. Stay away from the North Bay. It is too beautiful to consider destroying. They tell us we're going to be guided by DEP, and we're not moving it. If DEP says we can put it there, we're going to move it. We've been saying, look, we want to coexist. My client wants to coexist with you. We can't if you're putting this destructive element there. Let's figure out ways that we can put it down in the south where you're putting two commercial
So,
marinas.
Mr. Carey, let me see if I understand. So, your client is not upset that the Integra resort is being built there, but they are concerned about how they plan to develop their resort. What is it that they're concerned? They're willing to share the space?
Look, the government has a discretion to do what it wants with our crown land, right? If they want to give it to Integra to develop and sell for $1 million properties, which is what they're proposing, that's their prerogative. My client has no say in that. My client is fine with another development coming in if it does not destroy the very essence of what attracted him to buy his interest in the island, right? So they're sharing the island. My client is on mostly on the west. They are proposing to be mostly on the east and the southern tip of. So look, if they can find a way to do it that doesn't infringe on, destroy the product, negatively impact Turtle Grass Resort, my client's prepared to coexist.
So
And we've told them that. We've told the prime minister this. We've been told by the government, oh, you should meet with them. You should negotiate a coexistence. We've met with them. They're inflexible. we're just going to be guided by depth. That's what they say. If depth says we can do it, and that is my words, if depth says we can screw that the hell up, we're going to screw it the hell up. And we're saying if you screw it the hell up, you screw up my client's project. And this is what happens, Aaron and CA. 30 good paying, active, real jobs, not imagined jobs, will go away because my client will shut down. He will stop spending money. He's not going to continue to spend money on a project that in 2 years, if these guys ever, is going to destroy his resort. He's not stupid. He's a self-made businessman. He doesn't he's not a foolish person.
But he's willing to coexist.
He's willing to coexist.
So-
you guys go on your island, and they've already decided they're putting in 2 marinas in the south. So we said to them, well, if you're putting 2 marinas in the south, move your commercial dock to the south. What they said to my client is, well, if I have to put my row here, I'm going to lose a villa. So you will completely destroy the product of a $75 million resort because you might lose a villa that you can sell for $500,000. That's dumb money sense. That don't make no sense, right? You should be willing to compromise. And I don't see how the government could accept that as reasonable. And we met with the Prime Minister as late as yesterday. We've the client has made his case to the Prime Minister. We've restated all of the efforts that we've put into it. The local people also spoke to the Prime Minister and talked about the fact that they're willing to see a coexistence, but they want both to respect the sense of space. Yes, everybody wants a coexistence, right?
So,
Now, that me speaking as my client's environmental advisor, if you move that dock, I might go quiet. But these other people ain't going to go quiet if the level of density, and we ain't really even talking about that, not my client. We're just talking about finding a way to coexist.
so
Sorry, Aaron.
no problem at all. What does the best outcome look like for turtle grass? What does coexisting the optimal relationship look like?
Yeah.
And what's the line in the sand? How far is too far where turtle grass says, hey, we're gonna just have to pack it up and leave. We're unwilling to invest any further because it'll compromise our final product.
If, according to Philippe McLean, Dr. Rihanna Neely says go and destroy the North Bay and destroy turtle grass, that's obviously a line in the sand. We are protecting the North Bay. We're protecting the North Cut. That's what my client is after. Protecting the integrity of the North Cut. If that is destroyed, his product is destroyed. There's no sense doing a resort. He will shut down. Secondly, even if they decide to move the dock to the south, there's also a concern because the government gave them a lease on another. They have 100 and something on the eastern side of the client, and the government gave them 20 acres on the northwest side of my client. That is where they were going to put these foolishly envisioned overwater bungalows in a heavily trafficked channel. Well, they made it because they realized, well, you can kill somebody, one, and I don't think DEP would have even let them go ahead with that, or the government would have not let them go ahead with that. But my client needs assurances that that 20 acres that the government has given them is not going to be used for something in the future that is going to impact my client. Because that 20 acres interfaces with, right, is adjacent to my client's main recreation beach. So we need assurances from the government that there will be no future approvals of that 20 acres. We've offered to buy back their lease of that 20 acres, right, so that we could have assurances. And what my client wants to do with it is put it into a nature reserve, a center for Bahamian kids to come and study the environment, all of which he will fund. to have partnerships with universities, including the University of the Bahamas, to study marine science using the exumas as a base to study things like climate change. It proposes to do with the 20 acres. They propose to do something with it. We don't know. So my client needs an assurance from the government that that will never happen. And he needs a seabed lease in front of his beach to prevent that from happening. So those are the three lines in the sand thing. But the main one is no dredging in the North Bay. Do not destroy this pristine, um, beautiful, serene, fully intact system of seagrasses and coral reefs and turtles and you name it. It's one of the most beautiful areas, the exumas you could ever imagine. We can't allow for that to be destroyed, not from my client's perspective. That's the line in the sand.
Bahamians might call you a lobbyist, a person that who proposes and promotes an agenda, right? The government may say that they're here to make sure all of Exuma and by extension the Bahamas benefit. They're working for the best interests in people, right? How do you put yourself in questioning the government, and I'm using that loosely because I know you're not questioning them, you just are proposing a better alternative. But they may say that their decision is for the benefit of the entire Bahamas. How do you mitigate that when they say, "But we made a decision. This is good for the Bahamas"?
I agree with the government that it needs to make sure that the Bahamas is for Bahamians and that Bahamians benefit. So, look, a sensible rosewood product in the exumas would probably be really good for the exumas, right? I mean, exumas has a lot of employment already, right? But I guess you could always use more jobs. They proposed recently that they're going to create 400 jobs. So that sounds good to Bahamians. The reality is there's only 400 people living in the exumas. Staniel Key, 118, Black Point 2, Farmers Key, 66. But they can bring in 400 workers, right, into that small little space of Samson Key, right? So they're going to nearly double the population of Exuma, plus more when they think about additional staff that they bring in. But so my view is the government should be concerned with not only job creation, etc., but the prime minister, and he reminded me of this yesterday, that he's an environmental advocate. The prime minister is probably the loudest spokesman on the world now on climate change. Mia's gone a little quiet. The prime minister still speaks because our country is so vulnerable. And so he has an environmental legacy to defend. And so if the government is going to approve development projects, I think that they should fit in with our environmental legacy and the government's environmental legacy that projects that we're a country that we're so under threat from the effects of climate change that we should not do anything unsustainable, and that's not going to, or nothing that's going to help put more pressure on the climate, more pressure on the environment. We should not be net contributors to climate change. We currently aren't. So let's not bring in destructive projects that are going to do so. And again, I wanted to just talk about my client and his issues, but if you Google what they propose, bringing in 400 people and how many, two marinas, not one, two marinas into a small island, right? Plus dredging another commercial dock. They're putting in a mile of road on this island. They're putting in dense, really high density villas on a tiny island. They had to do so much destruction. Like they say, we're going to plant 1 or 3 mangroves for every one that you take out. Brother, if you take out you're taking out the mangroves from where they grow. You can't put them somewhere else. You can't take mangrove out the sea and put them on the top of the ridge, right? So it makes no sense. So my point is, speaking a little bit beyond my client's very specific interests and answering your point about the government should indeed be looking after the betterment of Bahamians, absolutely, but it also should be looking out for the long-term environmental sustainability of the Bahamas. And large density projects on tiny islands do not they do not fit within a scope or a pledge of environmental sustainability.
I want to talk about the voice of Exumians and what they're saying. You mentioned the group Save Exuma Alliance, is it?
Save Exuma Alliance.
Alliance. What is that? Who is that? What are you beating the drum?
Yeah.
You're beating the drum loud. I feel what you're saying, but I want to know that. I'm wondering how many people are concerned.
So the Save Exuma Alliance is a group of local Exuma Keys businesses that includes the Staniel Key Yacht Club, which is probably the largest employer in that area. Embrace Resorts, a small, unique boutique, beautiful boutique, Bahamian-owned hotel. Staniel Key Adventures, owned by, again, a local Bahamian, Kieran Miller, amazing naturalist, diver, fisherman, etc. I don't remember the other members of the group. Plus, a couple of the private islands in the area have also signed up, and they employ people from the community. So they have a vested interest in the sustainability of the environment, but also the sustainability of the economy. These local voices are saying, we're not opposed to you, Mr. Integra Group. That's not our objective. But we don't want you to come in and be so destructive that you're going to destroy the very essence of the Exumas. Look, I don't know if any of you have been to the Exuma Keys, but why do you go to Exuma Keys? Okay, the number one reason now that people go, Silly Pigs, right? Which are amazing as an attraction. But that's 40 minutes. When you're in Exumas for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or all weekend, after you spend 40 minutes with the pigs, what do? That's when you enjoy the beauty of the Exumas. These sandbars, coral reefs, seagrass beds, tidal creeks. That's what people do. The amazing blues of the Exumas is what captures people's imaginations and makes them fall in love. They come to the Exuma to enjoy the ocean, to enjoy what's special about the ocean. These local people are saying is, don't change it so much that you're going to destroy that very essence. Because it's important, and they were talking about this with me yesterday, where these guys want to put 2 marinas in the south. So we're getting away from the North Bay, that is my client's major bone of contention, to the South Bay where they're putting in 2 marinas, and they will dredge inland ponds, so that doesn't really affect the seabed. But you're going to have so much traffic coming through there now. 2 marinas, 2 commercial marinas on a tiny island. It's going to. You're not. Felipe at one point, McLean said that they're the savior of the Exumas. That's not saving the Exumas. That's changing the Exumas. That's actually destroying what it is to be the Exuma Keys. And the government's responsibility, back to your question, is to ensure that while development is necessary and important, it must not negatively impact, should not change communities. It should not force communities to change. I want you to think about the impact of bringing in 450 people, non-Exumians, because you will not find 50 Exuma residents to work on your resort. Be ready, nearly fully employed. And that's the fallacy that they keep saying.
Mr. Kerry, we're going to take a quick commercial break now. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I want to ask you this when you come on, and Aaron has a slew of questions. Some people would say that you're giving an ultimatum to the government and they're uneasy. You know, the nationalists. You can't be giving the government ultimatum. And I want you to respond to that in terms of your strong views, the urgency of your views, especially when people say, man, you sound like you're giving our government an ultimatum. And I want you to respond to that. We're going to take a quick break. Note that Erin has before a question she wants to answer you. So when you come back, you can respond to that and then allow Erin to put some questions to you. This is Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. We have Mr. Eric Carey online with us. He's an environmentalist consultant, right? CEO of the One Consulting Group, and he has some concerns. He, along with some people in Exuma, have some concerns about this Integra project, and he's voicing it. He wants Behemoth to come and join him to understand what is happening so they can also maybe speak to the government and say, okay, let's negotiate. We'll be right back.
Sign in and have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
Girl, Junior just showed me Bella Boy on his phone.
What you mean? He take picture of that good-for-nothing boy?
Shh, you don't want Bella here. You say that. You know she always say that's my good child.
So what he doing in Junior phone?
Oh, he there because the police looking for him. He on their wanted list.
Wanted persons in your phone now?
Yes, child. And when police want to find anybody quick, after something happen, they can send pictures direct to your phone. Go to Google Play or App Store and search for Crack Crime Bahamas, then pick install and it will go straight to your phone.
There is also a section on missing persons.
Yes, girl. Everybody needs to when these people go missing. Just like an alert system.
Yes, it has numbers for Crime Stoppers Bahamas, so you can call and nobody knows it's you. Call directly to Miami and give the information without giving your name or anything about you. I tried the other day, and when I hear Junior and his boys talking about where they hide those guns, I walk quick round the corner and call that number.
Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM.com and the Guardian Radio app. Nassau, Bahamas.
Clifton Bay, 7. Breakers Bay, 7. Liberty Bay, 7. Listen to bass. Rise up, Bahamas, let your voices blaze. Stand up, Bahamas, come on, let's hit the bass. God gave us this land, and this land we must save.
Welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. We have persons who actually text saying that they're concerned that your client may be a bully, trying to bully the government. I want you to respond to that, and then Aaron will throw in some questions after that.
And at the same time, can you list any existing legislation, regulations, or policies that Turtle Grass is relying on in their negotiations?
Listen, I mean, we're not. There's no legislation that guides the principle of coexistence, right? I mean, you could reference, Attorney General Ryan Pinder filed our case in The Hague for climate justice, and the principle of climate justice was advanced that a country should not be permitted to undertake destructive activities that undermine or destroy or negatively impact a neighboring country. That's the principle, basically, of coexistence. That's relating to climate change. So what we're saying is that the government should, in however it approves both projects, or in any scenario, whether these two projects or other projects, should ensure that one project does not cannibalize or negatively impact or put at a significant disadvantage. What we're saying is that we're prepared to coexist if the government, the department, the regulator, DEP, and the Department of Physical Planning says, look, I believe that the argument being advanced is reasonable. this commercial dock is going to be terribly destructive to the environment. That's DEP's perspective. And the planners should say, yeah, it's also going to cause this project to become non-viable because it's going to impact the quality of life, present safety issues. So the port department should also be stepping in, seeking a coexistence, right? So I can't think of a specific legislation. I can just think about common sense approaches and an international precedent and national precedent, I guess, where you determine that a particular type of activity should not negatively impact. This is why we have zoning, right? Which is why you don't have loud bars and nightclubs generally next to churches, which is why certain neighborhoods are zoned for single family as opposed to commercial, etc. Because you're trying to seek peaceful coexistence of everybody. What we're saying is that's not happening. That's if they are approved as they project, then that's not going to be the case, right? Let me get on to two things to answer your question. One is the ultimatum. It's not an ultimatum. Look, if you somewhere and someone is threatening you, someone running behind you with a cutlass threatening to chop off your head, right? You are going to run, or you're going to fight back, or you can go to the police and say, hey, this person trying to kill me. This is what they're trying to do. What my client is doing is stating his case to the public and through meetings to the government and through submission and meetings to the other developer that what you're doing is threatening me. We're not threatening the government. We're appealing to the government to avert a threat. It's quite the opposite. We're not threatening the government. The approval of this project as proposed with this destructive North Bay dock, which will dredge 33,000 cubic yards and also destroy one of the most beautiful channels that my client's resort depends on, that is an existential threat. We're saying to the government, please don't let that happen. We're not giving an ultimatum. We're begging. My client is saying that it would bring him if I have to close up shop and not continue my development. He's prepared to cut his losses and leave if the government approves it. I mean, that's not bullying, that's not threatening. It's saying, please save our project, save these jobs, and you can do it by making sure that the environment is protected and our product is protected. And the thing is, we're not giving Integra an ultimatum. We're giving them an opportunity. We've laid out to them 3 or 4 scenarios that could work. My client has offered the use of his roll-on, roll-off dock for them to bring in, supplies after they're operational, etc. Right? We've offered solutions for a peaceful existence. So it's not an ultimatum. My client is not a bully. Definitely not a bully. My client is a philanthropist, a community-minded individual. Look, you want to talk about bullying? My client had a meeting the other night, and people came in there trying to bully him. It looked to me like these were people with just a special interest to disrupt his meeting and be disruptive.
Let's talk about...
The opposite was happening. The opposite was actually happening. But my client took it in stride and basically made his case and continues to make his case, and he will make his case to the Bahamian public. Are you saying that you're not allowed to defend yourselves against a threat, and that if you do, you're seeing as giving government an ultimatum, protect my life or I will die? That's not an ultimatum, that's a plea. It's a desperate plea for making things work. And we don't see it as bullying. We see it as providing an opportunity for the government to make 2 successful projects set up, 2 projects be viable and set up for both of them being successful.
Now, I know that you were being tongue-in-cheek when you said there are only 400 people in Exuma. I couldn't...
Exuma Keys, sorry.
Exuma Keys.
Yeah. This is where this project is in the Exuma Keys. It's just south of Staniel Key, which has a population of 118 people. Black Point has a population of 230. Farmers Key are further south, 66. So in the general, the three Bahamian communities in the general environs of this project, they have 414 people last census.
In a
That's the yeah.
in an article last week addressing the government's the Tourism Development Corporation's Home Sweet Home initiative, Chester Cooper is quoted as saying that there are roughly 3,000 short-term vacation rentals in the Exumas already, right? With that number afloat, and you're saying there are roughly 400 people in the Keys. Almost roughly 3,000 Airbnb or short-term rental spaces are existing in the Keys. And how much room is there left for the Keys? How much room is there left for Exuma? How much more development can Exuma take? Eco-development or otherwise?
Okay, so I think that I don't know what the spread is. I think that there are areas. I mean, look, Black Point is on a large island. I don't remember the island, so y'all don't beat me up. Maybe Great Guana Key. It's a very large island, relatively speaking. There are hundreds and hundreds of acres available on Black Point for what I would hope to be Bahamian-owned Airbnb experiences or small resorts or partnerships between Bahamians and foreign direct investors, right? So in those islands, you could absorb, those are larger islands, and you could absorb the impact of a larger development. On this island, there is no opportunity for that. There's no opportunity for this on Staniel Key. Staniel Key it ain't completely maxed out, but it's heavily developed. But your point is absolutely correct that there might be too much saturation already. We think that this development, as proposed, is oversat. Well, when I say we, not my client, the Save Exuma Alliance and people that want to see the Exumas not negatively and irreversibly changed, they see Integra's development with 2 marinas and tons of villas and a mile or more of road and a couple hundred feet of dredging of coral reefs and seabed. They see that as not sustainable. They see that as too high density. So the point is, maybe and that was the point that a lot of people made to Integra is, Mr. McLean, your development is too dense. Maybe you should go to Great Exuma or go to another island that can absorb. Why have you come to this tiny island to have this huge impact and destroy the very essence of what is the Exuma Keys?
Mr. Kerry, we have a caller here, so we try to engage this caller. But I have a quick text, actually, as I get to the caller. This text says, I am Cecil Smith. I live in Exuma my entire life, 31 years in Little Farmers Key, and now 23 years on Great Exuma. I know this area very well and will say on the offset, this proposed Rosewood development is too large for that island and area. Also, the dredging in North Bay will destroy a pristine, tranquil, almost unreal natural beauty. I also wish to say the Turtle low-density boutique-style development, which is underway as we speak, employing a few dozen Bahamians, is the type of a development the Exuma Keys need. And if you look in the area, you will see or discover essentially all the islands continued that pattern. As I said before, this Rosewood development will have more than the 6 neighboring islands combined. And and in itself should tell the government something. We don't want our government to take our crown land and spoil our Riviera with such a large development. And it goes on with that. But let me get to this caller because I know the show soon. And go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Hello. Good morning. How you doing?
Doing well.
I got a question for Mr. Carey. I'm calling. My name is Damien. So I spend most of my time up in Black Point as well. So my question is for Mr. Carey. Mr. Carey, your client said they're worrying about the dredging and stuff of the key. But when your client was building up their stuff, when they were doing their dredging, was they worrying about the key? And I got another question. You can answer
Now,
that
let me
later on.
answer the first
But my
one.
other question
The
is,
client did no
when
dredging.
your client had first privilege to getting Samson key, why did they not choose the higher ground and they chose the lower ground?
Okay.
Why, when another development comes in to do something with the higher ground that is going to impact not just but surrounding keys, which is also going to put jobs and on for other people. Black Point is, yes, it is the largest key in the whole of main.
So let Mr. Kerry answer your question.
It is the whole thing,
answer your
but
question.
you be
Let me
looking at
answer your
what
question, though.
benefits who.
Go ahead.
Let me answer the question. Let me answer your question. One, my client did no dredging, so whatever that is a invalid question, not deserving of an answer. It's irrelevant. Secondly, my client purchased an option on an island that had been under lease for more than maybe 40 years by a Bahamian, and that was the option that he pursued. And the Bahamian who went after that lease originally chose that island, that part of the island, because that makes the most sense to develop. It has beach. It has beautiful access to deep water that you don't have to dredge. He did not select the part of the island that is high on a ridge with no beach, that is, backed up against tidal mangroves that shouldn't be destroyed. He took the most sustainable, the less destructive, and the more practical and the more respectful, as per Cecil Smith's point, that respects the way of life and the existing economic model for the exhumers.
We're talking to Eric Carey, who is a proponent of the Turtle Grass Resort. It's a two-part segment that we can have. We have like 2 minutes left. I can leave the last talk to you, Mr. Carey, and until we have you join again sometime next week to continue this conversation so we can try and understand exactly what you are lobbying for, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead. You have the last 2 minutes.
I think the islands of the Bahamas are unique. They're special. We have islands like Grand Bahama, New Providence, parts of Abaco that have large-scale development, and they support large employment. That's important to the development of our country. We need development. We need employment. But there are other parts of our country, like the Exuma Keys, which are gems, which are fragile. Development there should respect the sense of space, should not be destructive, and any proposal that comes to the government that suggests destructive and unsustainable development should not be considered for approval. That is not a threat. That's an opinion. That is advice. That is the way you develop our islands in the way that nature intended them to be developed.
Next week when you come on, Mr. Carey, I want to speak on what have you and your client and Save the Exuma Alliance Group have done to educate the people of Exuma of what is happening, and again what you're doing to educate the wider Bahamas who are not aware that this is happening, that you're concerned. So next week when you come on, we'll have our conversation basically geared towards that.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
This is Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry. Thank you very much, Aaron Green. Join me next week with Eric Carey again. And we'll try and get other opinions on this too, to find out exactly what is happening in Exuma, particularly Samson Key, and see how we as the Bahamas could come to a amicable solution to this debate, this raging debate that is happening. A number of people are just not aware that it's happening. Yes. Anyway, have a wonderful day.
Show us that you have some guts. Show us that you care. This ain't about no race, no color of no skin. We fighting for our land and we're prepared to win. Yes! Rise up, Bahamas, let your voices blaze. Stand up, Bahamas, come on, let's save the biz. God gave us this land, and this land we must save. Stand up, Bahamas, come on, let's save the biz.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app. Nassau, Bahamas.
You're listening to the Guardian News Network update on the hour. Energy Minister JoBeth Colby Davis says BPL is taking steps to keep the lights on this summer during peak electricity demand. She says the company has been increasing its redundancy and improving its maintenance program to stave off the load shedding, which Bahamians on New Providence have come to dread during the summer months. She points to a new N2 system on this island that will ensure that if two major generators at BPL, there will still be enough generation capacity to carry the expected load, ending the need for phased load shedding. She says BPL is also now taking engines offline during cooler months when there is less demand, so they are ready for summer without causing disruption to consumers. While claiming his comment was misrepresented for political mischief, the FNM St. Anne's MP Adrian White says he never intended to suggest that any community of voters is less valuable than another. He provoked the ire of PLP leaders when he said only sensible people vote for the FNM, and that every constituency had voted FNM at some point except for Ingliston. The PLP called him arrogant and elitist for suggesting PLP supporters were stupid. White claimed he was just trying to underscore that all areas deserve serious attention and informed engagement from their representatives, but he acknowledged that words have unintended effects, and he apologized to anyone who felt slighted by his comment. And police are investigating the alleged sexual assault of an American woman. 2 American men are in custody being questioned in connection to that incident, which reportedly occurred aboard a commercial vessel. That's what's making headlines today. Listening, everyone. Have a great day.
Hello. Thank you for calling Colleen Insurance Limited. How may I help you?
Hi there. I'm a pilot, and I'm out of the country for weeks at a time. Last month, I missed my premium due date, and my policy almost lapsed. Is there any way I could pay in advance or even while I'm away?
Absolutely, ma'am. Our convenient payment options like electronic pre-authorized payments and employer salary deduction ensure your payments get to us, even when you can't. There's also our online banking facility.
Those sound like great ways to save time and avoid standing in line. I'll come in to set one up as soon as I get back.
We'll be happy to help you, ma'am. By the way, my husband just got his pilot's license.
Really? Oh, I remember my first air test. I flew through a rainbow and passed with flying colors.
It pays to understand your insurance plan. Kalina, protection you can count on.
At Master Technicians, we additions needs starting with industry-best refrigerators, ranges, and ovens. We also carry Whirlpool washer and dryers, dishwashers and freezers, leading KitchenAid countertop appliances, blenders, microwaves, juicers, kettles, and KitchenAid stand mixers. We even do free delivery in New Providence or to the boat of your choice. Whether you're doing the laundry, creating new memories in the kitchen, or spending family time in front of the television, Master Technicians Limited, keeping family traditions alive for more than 50 years.
Pinder is carrying a new line of tile, the Sky series of porcelain. It comes in 4 colors, Sky Noir, Sky Azure, Sky Gris, and this one, Sky Glass. In this particular tile, I think you'll find coin gray, silver gray, cloud gray, and gray. All of these are seamlessly blended to make the Sky Glass one beautiful tile. The Sky series of porcelain comes in 2 formats, 24 by 24 at $5.30 a square foot and 12 by 24 at $5.25 a square foot.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The leader of the FBI says a county judge in Wisconsin accused of helping someone evade immigration agents has been arrested. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
Director Kash Patel writes on social media the FBI believes Judge Hannah Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from a person who was to be arrested in her courthouse, helping him avoid being taken into custody. Dugan's arrest marks a jump in the Trump administration's fight with the judiciary over federal immigration enforcement. The Justice Department had earlier signaled it would crack down on local officials getting in the way of those efforts. Sagar Magani, Washington.
President Trump is on his way to Rome and Pope Francis's funeral. Before leaving, he was asked about trade talks with China and Xi Jinping.
But I've spoken to him many times.
中美双方 But China's foreign minister says there have been no trade talks and the U.S. should stop confusing the public. President Trump said in an interview with Time magazine Crimea will stay with Russia, the latest example of pressure on Ukraine to make concessions to end the war. Time is running out to see the casket of Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica. His funeral is tomorrow. Here's the AP's Tricia Thomas.
Around midday, 150,000 people have passed in front of his coffin, and there are thousands more waiting here in line. The Vatican says that they'll have to close the line, stop the line at 5 p.m., and then use the next 2 hours to get the last people through before they close the basilica entirely for the ritual of closing the coffin.
The Vatican says 130 delegations are confirmed for the funeral, including 50 heads of state and 10 reigning sovereigns. A strong 6.3 magnitude earthquake off Ecuador's Pacific coast shook the northern part of the country, with some initial reports of some damage to homes. No injuries have been reported. This is AP News. Tensions are high between India and Pakistan.
Indian officials have said the army had a brief exchange of fire with Pakistani soldiers along their highly militarized frontier in the Himalayan region of Kashmir. 3 Indian army officials said that Pakistani soldiers used small arms to fire at an Indian position in Kashmir late on Thursday. They also said that Indian soldiers retaliated and no casualties were reported. The report of a gunfight comes amid soaring tensions between New Delhi and Islamabad after gunmen killed 26 people near the resort town of Pahalgam in Kashmir on Tuesday. India immediately described the massacre as a terror attack and said it had cross-border links, blaming Pakistan for backing it. Pakistan denied any connection to the attack, which was claimed by a previously unknown militant group, calling itself the Kashmir Resistance. I'm Karen Shamas.
And I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
Ready to insure your ride? Our new website is ready for you. Visit jsjohnson.com. Select coverages, go to Motor, and click Get a Quote. We have made it easier than ever to request a quote online. Fill in all the required fields. When you're done, hit Submit. You'll receive a response via email within 24 hours. Visit jsjohnson.com today.
Little Caesars is thrilled to announce your favorite pizza is now available for delivery. It's now easier than ever to have it delivered right to your door. Download the Tropicart app today and order your favorite pizzas, wings, and more. All at the best prices on the island with just a few clicks. Your fresh hot pizza is on its way to you. Pay with cash or card. It's that simple. Your favorite pizza delivered fast with Tropicart. Download the app now and start ordering. It's that easy. Delivery available from all 5 locations. Little Caesars now delivers on Tropicart delivery. Terms and conditions apply.
Pizza. As the hurricane season quickly approaches, so does the need for hurricane-proof windows and doors. June 1st is right on our heels with a whopping 9 named hurricane systems predicted this year. I'd say it's time to begin protecting what you've worked so hard for, don't you? We Buy You Sell is your hurricane-proof headquarters, offering one of the widest selections of hurricane-proof windows and doors in the Bahamas. Their window systems are built tough and welcomes a variety of color-built options that you won't find anywhere else on island. Many of the newer models come fully loaded with hurricane-rated screens and blinds. Yes, blinds built right in. No need to buy them individually anymore. And then there's our hurricane-proof doors, built kind of like Fort Knox, with outstanding colors that make you stand out in your neighborhood. Visit our showroom at Robinson Road and face hurricanes with a bold grin. Call us today at 698-1140 or WhatsApp us at 636-8412.
All those loans I had were so overwhelming. Fidelity's debt consolidation loan combined all my loan payments into one easy payment with a built-in savings plan that pays me unbeatable interest. It's time to make that move to Fidelity. Call 356-7764.